all the time.
Hello, this is Mary Hawk, president of Pagan World TV, and we are honored and excited to announce that Pagan World TV has been nominated in two categories of the 2024 Witchcraft and Occult Media Awards. Our YouTube channel Magic TV has been nominated in Outstanding Vlog or Vidcast, and the video Journey to the Parliament by Sir Ed Hubbard has been nominated in Exceptional Video. So we do ask that you follow the link scrolling at the bottom of the screen and vote for Magic TV and Journey to the Parliament in those two categories. We also encourage you to review all the nominees in all the many categories available and vote in those as well. And again, please vote for Magic TV and Journey to the Parliament. Thank you so much.
Hi, this is Marianne Kay from My Mystic Gems, and I create magical items for everyday life. My handcrafted items include wire-wrapped crystals and gemstones, beautiful bullets, which is part of my Peace project, steampunk jewelry and cosplay accessories, and retro and vintage items. I can do custom designs for birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, weddings, and costume affairs. Please visit my website at mymysticgems.com and also my Etsy website at mymysticgems.etsy.com.
You're watching Speak Your Own Book, the TV show, on Pagan World TV. Please welcome your host, Krys Copeland, head writing coach and co-founder of Speak Your Own Book.
Welcome to the Speak Your Own Book podcast, where we we explore the fascinating world of authors, divination, and spirituality. My name is Krys Copeland. I'm your host at Speak Your Own Book. And today we have the privilege of speaking with a remarkable guest, Atlanta Moonfire. Atlanta is not just a seasoned practitioner of paganism with 40 years under her belt, but also a divination expert, having dedicated 30 years to the craft with a particular focus on throwing bones divination for the past 14 years. Her journey in divination and spirituality is rich and diverse. Atlanta is the author of Throwing the Bones, Divination for the Modern Practitioner, a groundbreaking book offering insights into the art of bone divination. She is also on the cusp of releasing her next masterpiece, Throwing the Bones, Tools for the Advanced Diviner in Bone Magic, promising to delve deeper into this unique practice. Her academic credentials are just as impressive as her spiritual ones, being a graduate of Harvard EDU in Oracles, Omens, and Prophecies, and a certified spiritual life coach. Atlanta's influence extends into the digital sphere as well, where she is the host and producer of the series Everyday Witchcraft on Pagan World TV, now in its third season, and Soul Connection on Witchcraft TV. Recognized and celebrated in various media, she has been a featured guest on shows like The Casey Armstrong Show and international platforms like Psychic Heart out of the UK. And her expertise has been highlighted in magazines such as Bold Journey and Canvas Rebel. In her extensive travels with the Oddities and Curiosities Expo across the United States, Atlanta has been teaching bone divination, offering spiritual advisement through the ancient art, and making numerous book signing appearances. Her mission is clear and powerful: to provide spiritual advice and guidance through bone divination and elevate its global recognition, aspiring to make it well known as tarot. Her book is a testament to this mission, blending traditional practices with modern adaptability, offering comprehensive guidance on bone casting and breaking down barriers of intimidation in bone reading. Today, we're going to explore her journey, her teachings, and the profound wisdom she shares through her books and practice. So let's dive into the mystical world of Atlanta Moonfire and discover the depths of bone divination. Welcome, Atlanta, and thank you for joining us on Speak Your Own Book.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Wonderful. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, first, just share with us how you initially were interested or were drawn towards paganism and divination.
Paganism, I was 14 whenever I started kind of exploring. And back then, there wasn't internet. There were barely any books out. Unfortunately, I went down the wrong path. I read a book that was not, it wasn't a positive book, let's just say. So it scared me. I backed up. 18 years old, somebody gave me The Spiral Dance. I loved that book, but I really didn't get into it until my mid-20s. That's when I started seriously practicing. So I ended up with a teacher, with a mentor named Lauren Miller, and he taught me tarot. He also taught me different forms of magic, although not always ethical, more mistakes. I was in my 30s when I really, really started practicing seriously. Later on, he also taught me the bones. And then a few years after that, I was reintroduced to the bones at a festival. So it's been quite a little journey. And a few years ago, I was blessed that I woke up one day, said, I'm going to write a book about it. I want to spread the word. His family was fine about it. And here we go.
Wonderful. That's such an interesting story to hear, because I also started when I was 14 years old, and not necessarily the best influences, because my first introduction to it was with The Craft, the movie, which it was praised at the time for its groundbreaking efforts, but of course, looking back on it, there's always room for improvement, especially 30 years later. So yeah, it's very interesting to hear that you also got started on your path around that same time, and that you've also had those kinds of ups and downs with it that a lot of people will resonate with. So how did you discover bone divination? Well, you've told me about how you've discovered it, but why are you drawn to bone divination in comparison to other forms of divination?
Bone divination is very personal in the fact that it is very, very much a perfect way to connect with your ancestors. And that's who you speak to. With a lot of other forms of divination, you're speaking to other entities, spirit guides, angels, you know, from different realms.
Yeah.
Right. And this is a family thing. And you do not have to know your ancestors because they know you. One thing that people tend to forget is that we have ancestors from like thousands of years ago. So you're tapping into history and information and knowledge from thousands of years ago. It's like DNA trickles down. So does the light of the, you know, the connection with your ancestors. So that's one reason. The other reason is it's very personal because you make it your own. With Lauren, he taught me his basic family tradition. And then, like I said, a couple of years later, I was reintroduced to it at a festival. And I also learned their method of bone throwing. And really, at that point, you know, at first I was, oh, I'm kind of intimidated about it, you know, this kind of thing. And then finally, I thought, you know, no, I'm not. It's not that hard, you know. There's a basic simple throw that I learned. My tradition that I learned is Native American, African, Southern Hoodoo tradition. There's so many different types. So, and there's no way to do it wrong. You do it your way. You learn the basics, what you need to do. And as long as you keep those principles, you can create your own style.
Interesting. So very similar to intuitive tarot that we'll discuss a bit later. You can kind of make your own system and understand what parts of it speak to you. Yeah,
exactly. Because that's a way of connect. It does improve your intuition, although in the beginning, you don't have to have strong intuition. Everybody has intuition. Some people know how to tap into it, some people do not. This is a way that you can learn to tap into it. And as you go further, then you start hearing, I hear like what I call back here, the feels is what I call it. And you start kind of really getting into your intuition and you just go with it. But in the beginning, you know, the ancestors, the bones do not lie. The ancestors literally put it out in front of you. And the information is unbelievable that you get.
That's fascinating to me. And also, I know that there's a lot of people may have some fears around using bone for divination. I think a lot of people have that similar fear around other tools. Maybe the Ouija board would be a good example to use with that. What do you say to those people who have been told all their lives that bone magic is dangerous? It's visceral. It's of the flesh and the bone, literally.
It's actually, my opinion is it's the best form of divination because you're connecting to spirit of animals, and the ancestors are using those spirits to connect to you and give you that information. Now, I do have to say, I absolutely try in my bone kits and of course in my own kit, I try to get ethically resourced bones, but that doesn't always happen. You can't guarantee it. You can try, but you can't guarantee it. With each bone that I get, I absolutely cleanse them and I honor them. And that's really important in the beginning. You need to help set them free. And I will tell you, if an animal does not want you to use their bone, you will know it. I don't know if this is too much, but I used to have a couple human bones in my kit. I still have a couple of teeth, but and then one day I just was like, okay, all right, you know, you're ready to be retired is what we call it. One of them wanted to be on my altar and offer me some protection. I was going through a rough time. The other ones wanted to be retired. So we did a ceremony, a little ritual, and set them free. And it was a beautiful experience. Eventually, the one on the altar wanted to be released. I haven't thrown human bones since. I'm not sure where they get them. And on the one sense, you know, I want to get them and then set them free immediately. But on the other sense, if I get them, you know, where are they coming from? And is it just promoting that way of getting them? So I've just heard too many stories. And maybe that's why they were like, hey, you know, at this point, I don't know. But yeah, it's an actual connection to the spirit of the animal. They let you know. You will know. It's not like something bad will happen to you, but you will feel it. All traditions, faiths, religions, Christianity has thrown bones, all of them. It's the oldest form of divination. So people that are afraid of it, it's like they get the ick, you know, it's the ick factor, and they're like, it's like the Ouija boards. Ouija is the name of a game.
Yeah.
You know, the board isn't a game, but Ouija is the name of a game. Spirit boards, they're exact same thing. If you call it a spirit board, there's no fear. If you call it a Ouija board, everybody's like, you know, same thing with bones. You know, it's just, you have to experience it I suggest getting a reading and feel what happens there, and go with that.
That's actually some excellent advice, especially for, we have a lot of pagans in our community that are either considering cutting back on their meat intake or have gone completely vegan, for whether that's for health reasons or for ethical reasons, for climate change reasons. And so people are starting to really think more seriously about where we get our products from, and are those products ethically sourced. What would you recommend for people who really, really, really only want to find ethically sourced bones? How did you go about doing that?
You would be surprised when you make a conscious decision to throw bones, things start coming to you. And let me say, the tradition that I throw, it throws bones, seashells, and curios, little trinkets and things like that. So a lot of people that are attracted to bone throwing, not everybody, but a lot, excuse me, have been finding things all their lives. They've got little things saved, and they don't know why. And they have a little box saved of all these different things. You will be surprised. I mean, my dog's tooth that fell out, put it in there. My mother's tooth that she had a problem with, it represents pain. Weird things, walking in the woods, going down to like a river or a stream. You'd be surprised with that. They'll find you, and you can use sticks, nuts, different things like that,
So you could have a completely vegan bone kit, basically. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yes, you could. I mean, if you don't have any actual bones, and by the way, we refer to all the pieces as bones. If you do not have any bones in it, it's actually a different form of divination, but you don't need a lot. I suggest being more natural. I mean, keep the trinkets in there. Keep those special memories of these little things that you have found. Absolutely, 100%. But if you're going to throw this particular tradition, and like I said, there's others, you want to stick with predominantly bones and natural items, sticks, nuts, seashells, a few little trinkets.
Yeah, I even see that you have a dice in your photo there of your behind you of the background, and I love that because it's a great reference to the phrase "throw them bones" with dice as well. I'm a bit of a gamer myself, so I like those little references. Yeah. So my next question for you is for our listeners who might be new to bone divination. How do you go about with the basics of it? What does it mean if it's thrown a certain way, or it ends up this way, or what are the basics of it?
Well, this tradition is actually very simple. Now, I know in my book there's many different throws, but those need to be set aside. Okay, the basic, the cluster throw, that is the traditional throw that I was taught. The rest of them are some that I have shared with other people or I created. And there's other traditions, like I said. So the cluster throw, when you throw them, all right, it's not the location of the mat. It is what is surrounding the subjects. There are two types of pieces predominantly. There's other ones like, by the way, you're a gamer. I have a Dungeons and Dragons dice in my kit because it's a timeline. It's awesome. And then those I use as severity, like the one you see above. Anyway, just wanted to tell you
You could use it for
that.
like up to 20 years then, basically, with the D20. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. I predominantly do months because people want a shorter period of time, but yes, you can definitely do years. But where the bones lie, okay, around the subjects like family, children, love, money, spirituality, travel, all those things. I have about 16 subjects that I have covered, and I pretty much have covered all, but that doesn't necessarily mean every single one. So I'm open for people's suggestions. But yeah, so you see the pieces, the supporter pieces are what is around the subject pieces, okay? And that gives you the details and the information. And then a little bit later, you start looking at location. And then, of course, you learn different other throws. But I'm just talking specifically with the cluster. You have certain pieces like a bracelet, a gemstone bracelet in there. And what's inside of it is very important. You need to pay a lot of attention to it. So, I mean, it's not as hard. Have you ever been cloud gazing? Do you know what that is?
Yes. Yeah, I do that all the time in the summer here. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. You could read bones. That's simple.
Wonderful.
Because that's kind of what I teach my students is that, hey, you've been cloud gazing, you're looking at pictures. similar. You're looking at clusters. And another reason why it's personal is because, like, if I throw them, you might see a different cluster than I do. It's what you're feeling and what you're seeing.
Would you recommend to, especially as early practitioners, maybe taking photos of what they throw so that later on they can continue analysis as they learn and grow?
I think that's amazing. That's a great idea. And also you journal. In the beginning, you journal. Now, in the beginner classes, I always suggest just dividing on yourself. During the workshops and the classes, I do have them divine for other people. It's just a fun thing to do, or they divine for me. But really you need to focus on yourself, concentrate on your own ancestors, connect with them. And then later on you can connect with other people. But yeah, taking pictures of your throws in a little notebook, fantastic idea.
Wonderful. So yeah, that's a great as far as like how to get started with the basics approach. And so that's what they're going to be learning throughout the first book that you created, the one that's coming out soon. What advanced skills are going to be focused in that particular book?
Well, we have a bunch of other throws. Some are a little bit more advanced, some kind of simplify the original ones. There's a lot more meanings in it. I like to put meanings. The first one had like 50 pages of meanings, so we're going to do meanings again. And then I'm going to include bone magic. But we have specific ways, like more advanced ways of connecting to your ancestors. I have recipes in there on like my ancestral oil, my ancestral cleansing spray. I mean, just all kinds of recipes, little rituals you can do, ceremonies to honor your ancestors. It just goes in a lot more detail. And like I said, a bunch more throws. And I have a section in it that is on bone magic.
Oh, nice. So that you can also use this not just with divination, but also protection spells or new beginnings, or that's wonderful.
All the above. Yeah, all the above. Teaches you how to tap in to connecting with the animal, the spirit with the animal, and how to use the bones. Now, I always say that you never throw away a bone. If you have extra bones, okay, if a bone in your kit decides to be done, you can either gift it away as long as you give it to somebody who's going to honor it, not somebody's going to throw it in a drawer. Put it up on an altar, wear it, put it in the pocket. If you cannot find anybody that you can gift it to, then you bury it. It's called retiring. Okay. So when you're with your bone kit and one is ready to retire, you can use it in bone magic as long as you do not destroy it. Because in bone magic, a lot of the time, you will crush the bone and make a powder, or break it and put it in a bottle. So a bone like that, you do not want to do that too. But if you have spare bones, that are broken, or you found some broken bones that you're not going to use for your kit, then always set them aside, always, because you can always use them for bone magic.
That's a great idea. Now I know that you're on this kind of mission basically to make bone divination as popular as tarot divination. What are some challenges that you faced with that throughout your career?
Oh my goodness. For the most part, I have been welcomed, okay, and supported. There are a few people that, first of all, believe that I'm taking advantage of Indigenous people. This form of divination, okay, was, like I said, I learned it from a family. Later on, I learned it at a pagan festival. And this type of divination is practiced in all of the world. It's not just, all of the world. And you make it your own. And see, that's a big key. You make it your own. You kind of change it. You learn the basics, you learn what you need, and then you change it. So the only person that's taking advantage of it is me, but a lot of people do not understand that, because they're thinking in their head one thing because of television and media. The other challenge is other bone throwers. Sometimes, and I think I've run into maybe 3 the whole time I've been on tour. They don't like it that you're teaching, because it's very esoteric, and the fact it's usually passed down through families and tribes. So they get a little bit, but to me, I think that's kind of, I hope I don't make anybody mad here, but a little selfish, because, everybody wants to do the cool thing that people don't know about, and secret, and,
Exclusivity. Yeah.
Yes. And, and I think that, I mean, I got permission from the family and then I created my own thing. So, yeah, I want to spread the word. It needs to be as popular or more popular, than tarot. And I love tarot, absolutely love it. But this is something that you can pass down your family. And I mean, tarot is too. But think about, you know, um, the connection that you build, the relationship that you build with your ancestors, working all the time. And some people need that. And like people that have been adopted that don't know their family can get to know their family.
And I think that's a great point that you brought up because, cultural assimilation is a hot button topic in any community, but certainly in the pagan community as well. And I do think that sometimes we don't we don't pay attention enough to the indigenous voices that are speaking about it, and the majority of indigenous people that I've spoken with about seeing their culture taking on life in a new form in another culture, maybe with a person who's not necessarily tied to that culture by blood, they don't seem to care as long as it's done appropriately, as long as it's actually something that was learned appropriately. I
Absolutely.
I kind of equate it to what my friend Maureen, who's from Kenya, says about white people in dreadlocks. She doesn't mind that they're wearing dreadlocks, she just wishes they would take care of them. That's it. Yeah.
Exactly. You have to show honor and respect. There's a woman named Michelle Jackson who is very, very famous in this area. I don't like to use the famous, seasoned and respected in bone throwing. She wrote a book, Bones, Shells, and Curios, and I love her. She's a big influence on me. And this is just a little story real quick. I sell things on Etsy and I do sell classes and stuff. And I had a beginner class for someone named Michelle Jackson. And I was like, I didn't recognize that name and I don't know why. Anyway, because it was spelled a certain way. So we get set up. This was prior to my book, but my book was in the working. It just wasn't published yet. So I always recommend books. There's only a few out there at all. And then there's maybe like four of us that have done an instructional book, if that many. So I like to promote the really good books. So at that part of the class, I was showing her different books. Of course, I showed a couple other ones. And I said, okay, I'm saving my favorite. This is Bone Shells and Curios by Michelle. And I stopped. And I was like, and she said, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And I told her honestly, and the whole time I could look down and my heart's beating out of my chest. She took my class because she liked the write up. She was interested in it. She has advised me a couple of times and she has my book on her website that she recommends. Now, here's a woman who's traveled the world. Okay. And this is part of her culture and she supports me. So that's amazing. If I have the support of somebody who's well respected. And of course I want support from everybody. I'm not saying I don't, but it kind of gave me the reassurance. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that's really, kind of key to it. She was a mentor to you, if a distant, but through her book, she mentored you, and because of that, it's like receiving a blessing from your mentor that you are on the right path, you are doing the right thing, and you're sharing something that she loves with the world as well. That's really, yeah, it's just sweet and also just wholesome. Yeah, we need more of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, we do. And
Yeah.
it really did give me the boost of confidence that I was doing the right thing. It honestly did, because I had a very close family member that was really mad. She's still mad at me about writing it. She was one of the people that said I was taking advantage of Indigenous people. I said, just read it and you will see different. So I was sitting there going, oh gosh, should I publish this? I'm a little scared. And when Michelle gave me that support, I said, yeah, this is what I need to do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great that you're receiving that support and that feedback from the people who actually matter, not that everybody matters, but that matter in that particular field. It's just really important to be recognized for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so excellent. Now switching over to intuitive tarot, that was also I was watching one of your episodes, and one of the conversations, I believe it was with Ruth and Beverly, and you were talking a lot about how intuitive tarot is different from traditional tarot. And what has your experience been with intuitive tarot?
Intuitive tarot was what I was taught in with it. Lauren taught me. Okay. I did not know that there was other ways to read. So that's what I was introduced with, and that's what I practiced. It wasn't until later that I thought, "Am I doing this wrong?" you know, and of course, I found out that there's many different ways to read. But with intuitive tarot, you hear, like I said, I call it the feels. It's not like you hear with your ears, in the back ear somewhere, and you just go with it. You have to tap into that intuition and just go with it. What do you see on this card at this particular time? Okay. What is kind of sticking out to you? If you think about it, you're not going to do a good job. You have to, I mean, you need to look at the card, obviously, in the beginning, but once you start going, it just flows, it absolutely flows. And with other ways of tarot, like using a book, this means this means this. Yes, it's a great guide. There's no doubt about that. You should absolutely learn your cards in the beginning, and then you go with what your feels are.
Absolutely, and pulling out those particular symbols that pop up at that moment. That's always been really helpful for me
At
as
that
well.
moment, that's what's important, because if I had the same card for you as I did for someone else, it's not going to say the same thing. It's not. It's going to be different. I'm going to see different things in it.
Absolutely. The other show that I watched of yours recently was one on croning, and I found that, especially since I am about to turn 40 myself in April, um, particularly enlightening. It's something that I started practicing in my 30s, or at the beginning of my 30s. I wanted to see, how did people who already lived throughout that decade of their life, how did they do it with happiness, with contentment, with peace, with satisfaction with their life? And that's something that I want to continue into my 40s. Now that I found this peace, this stability, I want to maintain that even through the difficulties of menopause, and through the fear that we all have of aging and death. And so how has that experience been for you? What have you learned through your process?
Well, I will tell you, the first to admit this is terrible. I was fighting, and I'm still fighting age, but not like I was. I was very obsessed. I grew up for 30 years. I did modeling a lot. And in that field, you have to be perfect. You have to look a certain way. Your skin can't change. I mean, you just have to, and you get obsessed with it. And that, in society, not just in the modeling field, but in society, we're taught that it's that you've got to be young and no wrinkles. And, so it's only been over the last few years, I mean, I had a breakdown. I'm not kidding, a breakdown when I turned 30. I just was a hot mess. And now I look back and I'm almost 55. So I'm really embracing this since only about 5 years ago. When I turned 50, I was like, okay, this is not as bad as I thought. You look at things differently, and you do what you can to, obviously, self-care, super important, but you don't get obsessed with it, because you want to know what, eventually all that's going to go. And you hear that it's the inside that makes you beautiful. It's the glow. There's such a difference, if you're just happy and you go, say, to a store, you have no makeup on, hair's put up, sweatpants, whatever. People, they notice you, and that, and if you're all dolled up, but you feel like, yeah, people don't notice you. It honestly is what's inside. It honestly is. So I'm embracing aging 100%. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm going to be here for at least another, I don't know, 50 years. So I've got a long way to go.
Absolutely. And that's very interesting that you pointed out that, if you're feeling your best, then other people will recognize that about you. One thing I have noticed is that even if you are not happy with yourself, but you do start obsessing with making sure that you're presenting as happy and beautiful, normally that tends to just attract other people who are unhappy about their lives and recognize something in you that they can use or exploit or manipulate, so because they recognize that same weakness. And that's something that I struggled with as well in my early 30s, especially. I also kind of went through an early midlife crisis, but yeah, I ended a 13-year marriage, and that needed to end 7 years before that. But you hang on to those things, and if you don't start letting go of them, they do start eating away at you until you break down. And that's exactly what I went through as well. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
interesting to see that we all struggle with these issues, especially I don't want to say especially women, because men obviously do that as well. But yeah, especially I think as women, we're told that we're less desirable
Yeah.
the more years that we have on our life, and that's, from what I've seen as far as like actual experience though, has been completely the opposite in
Completely
life.
the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely the opposite. And once you recognize that, it changes your whole life perspective. Absolutely. I mean, the knowledge, and I know this is like very cliche, but the knowledge that you have, as you age, I love talking to older women. Love it. And I think we should 100% embrace them, and put them up on a pedestal. I mean, think about that. And okay, eventually you are going to have wrinkles. It is just the way it is. But that's your history. That's your history that you have. And like I said, I'm big on self-care. I'm not obsessed anymore. I go out without makeup on now. I wore makeup when I was giving birth to my children in the birthing room. I was so ridiculous.
I have some
But I
friends who
mean,
did that. I
yeah,
was not, I was too lazy to do it at that time.
it's crazy. And now, like I said, I just embrace it now. And having that show with Ruth and Bev, it just made me even more, inspired to embrace everything. And yeah, so it's amazing. It's a great journey. And once you get that realization, all this weight is lifted off of you, because society really weighs you down.
Absolutely, especially with all these falsehoods about what aging is like, especially aging for women is like. It's just been the complete opposite for me. I found that once I started stepping into, I think you even talked about that on your show, stepping into your crown. I haven't stepped into the crown of crone yet, because I'm still on that path. But I do recognize that as a woman, I have a lot of strength, and I can step into maybe that queen role. And
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So how has that been like for you, as far as like being able to regain control over your life in other areas as you've gone through Crony?
Well, like I said, it's weird because it is a huge weight that literally comes off of you, and self-acceptance is real big because in my life, I've had a lot of self-doubt when it comes to physical appearance and different things like that, not just physical appearance, other aspects as well. Unfortunately, I've had relationships primarily that fed off of that. But especially recently, I'd say in the last 15 years, I've been surrounded by people that are, for the most part, most of them are amazing and supportive. And so my journey of spirituality has increased a lot too. It's like excelled. It has absolutely excelled once I started embracing like the age that I was, and I'm kind of like in the middle right now. I haven't done the stepping into your crown yet. I want to, but I want to do a few more things before I feel like I'm ready to do that. But yeah, I'm right up there, and I'm actually excited about it. I'm too super excited about it. And I think the community right now is starting to really embrace pruning. You think of a wise elder as being a man for the most part. or at least I do. Whenever I first heard, an elder, I'm thinking, oh man. But women have a lot to contribute, and the pagan community is great about celebrating that.
Absolutely.
It would
Yeah.
be nice if we could get that out there in society and, mundane life, to celebrate older women as much as we do in the pagan community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely growing still in outside of the pagan community too, just not at the same rate. The younger generation is a little slower to catch on to the fact that you can still be beautiful even if you're 80. And we see that all the time. Like there are 70-year-old, 80-year-old supermodels still looking just as gorgeous as they did when they were 18 and first stepped on the runway. And you've had that experience yourself as a model, and it's interesting to hear that even you having gone through modeling and being recognized literally for your beauty, for your talent to move your body in such a way that you can sell a product, and to go through that and still have doubts about yourself, still have insecurities, and so I think it's really important for especially pagan women and pagan girls to realize that everybody has those insecurities, and that it's what we do with them, it's how we process through them, and it's how we grow with them that really
It
shows who we
absolutely
are.
is.
Yeah.
And today with filters, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, I had a picture on my private profile on my Facebook page that I had green hair, and it looked real. It wasn't, it was filter. But in my pictures, most of them, I do not use filters. Now I do cut myself out and put me in backgrounds. I do that a lot. But most of the time I don't use filters, but I think people can pretty much tell the difference. If I do like a casual picture, because here's my thing, okay? First of all, why are we hiding behind filters? It's making us seem perfect. And unfortunately, girls today are looking at that at an unrealistic image of what we are supposed to look like. And that's incredibly sad. It's worse than when I was growing up, because we didn't have Photoshop. We didn't have any of those things. You either looked one way or you didn't. But, when I meet people, I want them to say, oh, okay, that's Atlanta. I do not want them to look at me and go, who are you?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I see that as well with especially the younger children. Even some are trying to like get plastic surgery so they look more like their filtered version, and at
Yeah.
very young ages too. I do see that there is a growing beauty awareness that there can be other forms of beauty besides like the classic beauty, or the beauty of 1940s, 50s, 60s, that we're seeing more people of color in the industry. We're seeing bigger people in the industry. We're seeing people who may have, what society might call a disfigurement, or, an abnormally large nose or abnormally large ears. And the fashion industry can finally see that as, oh, that's actually unique and beautiful. Unique is beautiful. Yeah. And so how have you been able to embrace that when you think about your own insecurities? How did you come about embracing those insecurities and saying, hey, I'm proud of my flaws?
Well, for years, I wanted a nose job because unfortunately, big noses run in my family. So I did. I wanted a nose job so bad. And I'm so glad I didn't even get it, though. The pagan community, I actually, okay, the first time that I kind of said, oh, wait a minute, I went to, I was a I was a guest at a cult gathering, and they wouldn't let you wear makeup. They wouldn't let you drink coffee. Well, it's decaffeinated, no sugar, no medications, unless it was like a prescribed
Is
emergency type.
Scientology? It sounds like Scientology.
No, but I'm going to tell you something. It was so much like what I've seen on site. It was crazy. It was like a 5-day retreat. And they really are, they were like, they tear you down. Well, what is his name? Oh, I forgot his name. Dr. Phil. It's his brother and mother who did this. So they wouldn't let you wear makeup. I was like, whatever, I'm wearing makeup. You cannot stop me. You can ask me to leave, but I'm wearing makeup. So me and that Dr. Phil's brother, I don't remember his name, kind of went head to head. And I was standing up and he was standing up, and I was like, either ask me to leave or, I'm sitting down. I said, I tell you what, you show up in your underwear and I'll take my makeup off. And damn if he didn't. He did his boxers, and I was like, oh gosh, okay. So, but the funny thing, they build you up, build
That
you up,
family
build
will
you
do
up.
anything for a stunt, right?
Yeah. And you know, they knock you down, okay, and then they build you up through exercises. It was one of the most amazing experiences I have ever had. It was unbelievable. I loved it. Um, you know, people say, oh, it's not a cult. It kind of was, but it wasn't like they weren't, you know what, they were brainwashing you into being a better version of yourself. That was it. It was really beautiful. I didn't have to pay to go. They let me go on a scholarship because they just wanted to spread the word. They taught you things like the personality colors, love languages, I mean, different things like that. So that was the first time. And then when I got into the pagan community and went to some festivals, there is nothing like being embraced by people for just whatever you are, you know, whatever, just natural. It makes such a huge difference, you know, and that was a hard struggle at first. But then I started realizing, you know, I need to be happy with me, you know, happy with who I am. And that's why I go out. That's why I go without makeup every once in a while. It seems like such a superficial thing, but I'm comfortable with it now. And it was hard. Like I said, I'm almost 55, and I'm just over the last few years really embracing all of this. And I hope that, you know, other younger women can learn earlier than me, because it does make for a very sad, not sad life, but that part of your life pretty sad. You know, there's nothing
Absolutely.
like feeling insecure.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I'm glad that you know, you brought up the situation with the cult that you're at, and what it can be like in other, whether it's a religious group or a group in general. That compared to pagan culture, we I don't want to like toot our own horn, but we're more accepting, we're more welcoming. We're not people who, you know, want to break down other people. We accept them. I think it's actually there's a quote from Reverend Dawn today that I was pulling for some social media content about this. You have to take people where you find them and try to work with them in the knowledge of where they are, not necessarily where you would like them to be. Yeah.
Right. And you know what I was thinking about too, just now, actually, when you were talking about that. Here's the thing about the pagan community. Everybody is really deep into spirituality of some sort. And maybe not on the same path, but spirituality, right? So they have that inner glow, that inner peace. And that inner glow is what really makes you attractive. Literally. You know, you be beautiful and be awful inside, and it just ruins everything. And you can kind of even see that on beautiful people that are not nice. You can see in their pictures, you're like, something's off. It's a pretty person, but something's off. But, you know, in the pagan community, you have everybody is literally supporting you, and you are learning more about your path and spirituality. So guess what? That inner glow is automatically there. Now you have that inner glow, and people are coming up to you, and they're attracted to your light. They're attracted to your light.
That's an excellent way of putting it. So let's talk a little bit about it's getting, well, it's only January now, but I'm praying for spring. And when that festival season starts back, I know that you're on the festival circuit a lot. So, what inspired you to start touring with the festivals? And I also noticed that you do make these amazing festival tour videos. It's almost like a virtual shopping experience as well, because it's like having your bestie go around with the camera and show all the cool stuff that you're not there to see in person, but they know you'll like it, so they're going to get a close up of the one that you're interested in. And it seems like that's what you do.
Yeah, that's fun. It's called On the Road with Atlanta. I haven't done an episode though in ages, and I really need to do another one. So, when the book came out, right before the book came out, I was on the festival circuit anyway, for quite a while. Actually, I've been, I want to say 10 years now. But when the book came out, I went nuts. Okay. I used to be a paralegal and a judge's assistant. So I had a 9 to 5. And once I left the 9 to 5, I had all of this open time. But I still didn't want to just sit at home and you know, and not do anything, because as you can tell, I'm wide open and I'm all over the place. So I started the circuit, and when I was promoting the book, and I'm self-published, so you got to get your book out there. In 1 year, a couple of years ago, in 1 year, I did 11 what I call ONCs, which is the Oddities and Curiosities Expo across the US. I did 11 of those. I did, I think, 4 or 5 festivals. I did an appearance every month in one particular store, and then multiple, like another appearance. I was on the road about 3 weeks, and then I'd come home for maybe 4 days and then hit the road again. I love it. And yes, it was about self-promotion, but it was also about, I told you I want to get the word out there. So yeah, I want to get the word out there. I want people to see what bone throwing is. And I love to talk to people. It honestly is the absolute highlight of my life. People say I work all the time, and I got to come up with a different word, because work is not the correct word. Like my shows and stuff like that, I need to come up with a different word. I haven't found one yet, but
Passion.
It's not work.
Yeah.
Passion. Yes, that's perfect. Yeah, because it is my way to give back to the community, but you know what? I'm getting something out of it too. I love to do it. I love to be creative. I love to meet people. I'm always learning stuff. So yeah, this year I'm not touring quite as much, but I'll still be a lot of places. But but I love going to festivals. I love going to festivals. It's not like work. Technically, I guess it's work, but it's not like work.
Absolutely. It's very similar with my and I love how you said that, if you're wanting to publish a book, just self-publish, get it out there, because that's like what we do at Speak Your Own Book. We do help people get published, even if it's just, they need a little bit of professional advice, and that's it. And then we, send them on their way and wish them best of luck. But yeah, it's very important to just get out there and be seen and socialize and make connections. And especially if you're whether it's self-promotion or it's, a woman on a mission like you are, that you just get out there and experience it. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Another thing is too. Another reason why I do like to do festivals is the personal connections. I hope I don't make anybody mad with this one, but there's a lot of people online. There's so many great social media, and the internet is so fabulous for information. Oh my goodness. Like I said, when I was younger, there was none. Okay. So it is an amazing thing. However, anybody can be anything on social media. Anything. I have had experiences, personal experiences with people like that. It's very scary. But yeah, they can be absolutely anything. If you meet them in person, then you can get a more feel for them, and maybe it's not always right, but most of the time you can. You can say, oh, that's a real person. Okay. They're not hiding behind a mask. They're not hiding behind, and I go back to the filters, because it really bothers me that people think they have to use them. I'm not saying somebody, like, there's some cases people are just insecure when they use them, but be your own person. You know what I mean? And meet people if you can, meet people in person, do live chats, all these different things. But the festivals, you really get to know people, and and I get to teach, which is so much fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the other passion that I have, is teaching. So I do that with business English here in the Netherlands. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's a lot of fun. I'm very curious though about how you have this like special gift that you're able to get your interviewees to really open up and be incredibly honest and forthright with their story. That they may not be that way in other interviews. So how are you able to really connect with people in that manner?
I've always been that way. I mean, since I was, I don't know, I can't remember. I guess since I was a child, I'm very empathetic. So the one thing, and it can kind of get you in trouble too, because when you feel other people's emotions, sometimes that can be tough, right? And so when I'm speaking to somebody, I do my best. I do my best not to be intrusive. I'm like, you can tell me things, or you don't have to tell me things, and we'll just see what it says. And, that's another thing I really love about Bones. You get advice on how to deal with certain situations, or if you can't prevent it, then, it's how to make it through it. And I love that. I love that idea. But, and like I said, it's from your family, so it's amazing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to answer a question, because I've just never had a problem with talking to anybody. And I'm trying to think if I've even been in a situation where there was a very angry person around me, and I don't know, we just connected, and she calmed down, and we ended up having a great it was part of a workshop, and we ended up having a great experience. But it's not with everybody, because it's not with everybody. But I do try. I aim to do that with people, because I want them to get the most out of their reading and out of their classes. And if they're not comfortable, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that open feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I've experienced that a few times myself if I just happen to really connect with a certain individual, but it's definitely not like a universal thing for me. And it's not always been like a positive for me as well. Um, I guess in the long run, the one thing that comes up, the one experience I have that comes up with this is I was speaking to someone, and I later found out that they were a wanted rapist. And uh, through the conversation that I had with them, um, at the beginning, we actually like connected on a friendship level. And then when I later found out that he was actually wanted for rape, um, I was able to help the police officers to go and capture him. Mostly because he was also a clear and present danger to some women that were around him at that moment. So it was really
Right.
important to pull him out at that time. But yeah, it was quite frightening knowing that, I connected so easily with someone who later turned out to be such a violent person. And have you ever had an experience where you connected with someone and then later it turned out that that person was maybe you
Many
wish you
times.
hadn't connected with that person?
Many times, many times. There's one thing that I'm really doing right now. I'm great with intuition with other people. I'm fantastic with it. But you know what? When it comes to me, I let my brain and my heart, and I listen to all these outside influences. And then, so I've had a series, not every relationship I've had, but I've had a series of nasty relationships connecting to people that are horrible. And in my heart, even on the outside, I'm like, oh, I'm so happy. But there's like a deep feeling inside that I ignore, and I'm miserable. It's just, it's so hard to explain. It's like two Atalantas, Um, not just that, okay, not just that. And when I was a paralegal, for a while I worked for criminal defense attorneys, and you do meet people that have done things. Judge's assistant, same thing. The defendants are right in the room with you, and you've got people from murder, capital murder, rape. One thing I did not do so as the judge's assistant, it wasn't as bad, because you're not allowed to talk to them a whole lot. You can, hi, whatever. But with a paralegal, you have to interview people. Now you're connecting with them energetically, and you have a cord. I absolutely would not work with anybody that was a child molester. We had a guy come in. There were certain people I just said, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not connecting to these people, because I am an empath. I am very open, and I do connect with them, and I can get them to open up. I don't want anything to do with that. As far as I'm concerned, you put them underneath the jail. I'm so judgmental when it comes to that. I'm talking about people that I know for a fact that. So, I mean, questionable people, it's different, but yeah, people that, for a fact, I don't want anything to do with it. I do not want to connect with them on any level, because that's hard. That's a hard, thing to get rid of. You connect cords all the time, energetic cords with people. And, yeah, you've got to be careful with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those, it's like if you first meet that person and you're introduced to them as, oh, this is the crimes they're charged with, it's a very different, you're able to at least, say, oh, then I'm not going to make that energy connection. It's when they've, hidden those things, or you find out about them later and you're already connected, that it becomes so much more damaging to everyone involved when you start cutting that. Even though it needs to be cut, it's like an infected limb, it has to be amputated. But yeah, it's important. Yeah, absolutely. And as much as I try to be progressive and liberal, I kind of have a lot of the same opinions on that, especially with child molesters. Having been a victim myself, a survivor myself, it's not something that I don't know if there's full forgiveness possible in that situation. It's just too much.
Like I said, I'm being very judgmental with it. And these are people that I knew for a fact that I knew for a fact were guilty. These aren't people that like, oh, there might be a question or, and with that, it was like throwing the dice, by the way. Oh, by the way, I meant to tell you, dice is bone throwing. So is dominoes. I didn't know if you knew that or
Yeah,
but
I've heard both of those references before. So that's why I love the title of your book.
oh, thank you. But yeah, back to that. But that's how my brain works. I told you I'm white. But yes, so if I knew for a fact somebody was guilty and they're just trying to get the best representation they can, and it's something like that, or animal cruelty or anything like that, I don't want connected with anything like that at all. And unfortunately, like I said, in my private life, I have had great people. But unfortunately, predominantly the people I have been connected to in my private life have been exactly what you've been describing. It's amazing. It's this, that. It's amazing. You kind of get a glimpse of things, but you're ignoring it. And then you find out a lot. And it's scary. It is so scary. And it's hard to cut those cords, especially when you felt like such a great, strong bond with them. It's hard to cut that.
Oh, absolutely. And that goes for a lot of my past relationships as well. It's definitely something I've been more cautious of since my divorce. And since the recent time right after my divorce, I think we all kind of go through that if we've been through divorce where we want to, basically date around and try out everybody. And then you realize, oh, the world has changed greatly since the last time I was dating. And so take some precautions. Yeah.
It's very scary. And at this point, especially after my last relationship, I am just really working on myself. I'm not even interested in dating. I'm interested in going to lunch or dinner. Not right now. Right now, I'm so busy, and I'm keeping busy because I'm on this big, huge spiritual thing. I'm really working on my intuition for my personal self. All these different things that I'm working on. So that's what I'm focusing on because I'm not ready to make a judgment at this moment on whether or not I want to be connected to somebody. Not at this moment, not at this very second, but eventually I will be. It's just right now, I need to recognize some things within myself. I need to take that intuition and apply it to my everyday life. Had I listened to my intuition on pretty much all of these relationships, that first glimpse, I would have not gotten into trouble.
Yeah, I think I was the same way with mine. If I had paid attention, I would not have been in a 13-year marriage that did not work out. I would not have started a relationship with that person, just simply because
scary.
I knew if I paid attention, I knew it wouldn't have worked out. Then it would have. And I just want to be clear, since the case I do have friends who are still connected with him. The rapist person that I was talking about was not my ex-husband. He has a lot of issues. That is not one of them, as far as I know. And I don't want to know. Yeah, exactly. So as we wrap up our interview today, are there any final words that you want to, or a final message that you want to give to our audience?
Absolutely. If you are at all interested in bone throwing, divination, or seriously, just curious about it, you can contact me and chat. Now, granted, I am busy a lot, but I will get back with you. And the best way to connect with me is on my website at www.bonewitch.com. You can contact me through there. I will get back with you, answer any questions. If you're already a bone thrower and you want to have advice on whatever, just contact me. Same thing with bone magic or the croning thing. Let's go through that journey together. And the spiritual journey that I'm on, I want to share that with everybody, and that's not a charge. That's something I just want to do for people. So yeah, and I'll see you this year at all the festivals.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the videos that come out. I hope eventually I might come back to the US and do a festival season there. But at the moment, I'm enjoying the European festival season. So
I'm so jelly. I think
well, you'll have to come over. I invite
will.
every pagan I know to come over. If you ever want to, a cheap European vacation, you're welcome to crash at my place, and we'll show you around. So yeah,
I'm gonna take you up on that. So just be prepared.
Awesome.
I'm gonna take you up on that. I just think it's amazing, and yeah. And I actually have a friend that lives out there. She's in Bosnia right now, but she'll be going back, to the Netherlands. And I heard it's amazing, and yeah, I look forward to that.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe
Thank
we
you
can
for having me on.
create some content around it. That would be great. And thank you so much, Atlanta Moonfire, for joining us today on Speak Your Own Book. Your insights into bone divination and your journey in the pagan community have been really enlightening and inspiring. I've really enjoyed so much just researching and preparing for the interview. For those of you who are interested in exploring bone divination further or seeking spiritual life coaching, I do highly encourage you to visit Atalanta's website at bonewitch.com. Here you can learn more about her services, her approach to divination, and how she can guide you on your spiritual path. And don't forget to check out her book, Throw in the Bones, Divination for the Modern Practitioner, available on Amazon. This book is an invaluable resource for anyone interested in learning about bone divination, whether you're a beginner or you're looking to deepen your practice. And if you're on the festival circuit this year, keep an eye out for Atalanta. Stop by, say hi, and experience her captivating presence and wisdom in person. Finally, to all our listeners who have a book inside them waiting to be written, if you need help getting started or crossing the finish line, we're here for you at Speak Your Own Book. Reach out to us at help@speakyourownbook.com for a free consultation with a professional writing coach. Whether it's planning, editing, or drafting, we're here to support your journey to becoming a published author. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep sharing your stories. Until next time, take care and keep speaking your own book.
Thank you for watching Speak Your Own Book, the TV show on Pagan World TV, hosted by head writing coach and co-founder Krys Copeland. Please join us next time on Speak Your Own Book.